Hey guys, Chris here from Carolot Farm. I'm out in the garden. It's November 3rd. This is the most beautiful Monday we've had in a long time. It's approaching 60 degrees, and I have a few things, like those sweet potatoes over there, that I am hoping to tackle today. So, super glad to have you with me. Let's see what we can get done. But first things first, before we get all dirty and start digging up those potatoes, I do want to show you quickly our broccoli and our cauliflower and our cabbage plants, which are just here in front of me. The cabbage plants, I'll show you, again, I'll flip my camera around. They are beginning to form heads, very exciting. The broccoli, we have one or two really little heads. And then the cauliflower, we don't have anything just yet, but I'm still hopeful. So let me show you those plants. Let me show you one other plant that I've got something special to tell you about. And then we'll get to the big task of the day, the sweet potatoes. Here you can see our cabbage. They are beginning to form nice little heads. You know, our cabbage plants, they have not been bothered by the cold and the few frosts that we've had. There's another good cabbage head hiding down in there. So we'll definitely have a nice crop of late fall cabbages. Now the broccoli plants, you know, they are a little crowded. They've reached the top of their netting, and a few of them have tried bolting on us, like this little area here. I've just been snapping those off when I see them, because what we want is for the broccoli to actually start to put more energy into making a larger head such as this. Now it's still not a huge head like you find at the grocery store, but it's a start. And I am hopeful that in the coming weeks, we'll start to get some more larger heads forming on our broccoli here. What I wanted to show you though, at the end here before we get into those sweet potatoes, are the pepper plants. The peppers were definitely hit really hard by the frost last week. You can see that the plants are toast, right? But hiding in these pepper plants, we still have some little peppers that, hi shrimps. We still have some peppers though that need to be picked because we can still roast these. These are the hatch chilies and we can still use those. You know, I will pick them today, but there's one last pepper plant I do want to show you because it's kind of been the late star of the garden. I mean, who would have thought in November I'd still be harvesting hatch chilies? Such a surprise. The real star, though, of the late fall garden are the serrano peppers. We picked a bunch of serranos. I think I saw it was October 21st. So that was 2 weeks ago because it's now November 3rd. So we picked a ton of green serranos before that first big frost. And I wasn't really sure what to do with them. You know, a friend of ours made a red fermented hot sauce with red serranos earlier in the summer. And so I got to thinking, well, what if somebody made a green hot sauce? And rather than asking our friend if he wanted to, my husband got a wild hair and he's like, well, why don't we just make it? And so we made a really, really tasty green serrano and jalapeno hot sauce. Definitely a plus. So I'm going to harvest these last few serranos because that sauce that we made was so good. We're gonna make another batch. Again, it's November and we're still harvesting peppers, but today will probably truly be the last day for the serranos. I see a few red cayennes that are still turning. I'm really surprised that it's the hot peppers that have actually, you know, withstood the frost. I thought that they would have been the first ones to go, but they're actually showing that they're pretty darn hardy. One little note I will say, some of these peppers that I'm picking, you can definitely tell where they were kissed by the frost. No surprise, we've had several frosts now. And so although they are in decent shape, they're not in great shape. And so everything I picked today, we'll want to go ahead and process really soon, probably as early as this evening, because the produce here is just not going to last very long. So if you are like us and you're picking late in the season, just be mindful of that, you know, these items that we're picking, they've certainly been stressed and they're not going to hold up near as long as what we picked earlier in the season. Something I've been working to do this past month is sort of tidy up the garden, and I've done a lot of weeding around the edge. And each time I come out and do more weeding, poor little shrimp here loses his little sleeping spots. So he's in one of the last portions of the tall grass that has not yet been weeded. Just wanted to show you that though. He's all curled up there taking a nap. And here's another look at Shrimp all curled up over there. He's a funny little guy. Nap time. Which now means it's time to start trying to turn our sweet potatoes. I think I'm gonna have to pull the hair back because I have a feeling this is gonna get pretty messy. Fingers crossed I'm able to turn the soil without too much trouble. We had a little rain overnight, so I'm hoping that's enough to have softened the ground. And you know, with these sweet potatoes, I will just note we tried pulling a couple up just by hand the other day, and the ground was so hard and compacted that the large tuber actually snapped in half. And so I'm hoping to turn the soil so that we can harvest the sweet potatoes without damaging them too much, but we'll see. There is no telling what we're gonna find under the brown sweet potato vines here. I just double checked. We planted these sweet potato slips back on May 16th. So they've been in the ground for, what is that, 5.5 months if I've done my math correctly. Hope I've done that math correctly quickly in my head. But they've been, you know, growing and now really just resting for quite some time. I don't imagine like the actual tubers have done much growing and developing in the last, you know, many weeks since these vines have kind of dried up. But I'm gonna put my gloves on now and start turning the ground. And I've got 2 3.5-gallon buckets here to put the potatoes into, but I just have no idea how many we're gonna have and really how far into this bed I get today. I do have a meeting I have to zip off to around 1, so really I have to shut this down by about 12:30. So let's see what we can get done. Something I want to do before I start using my pitchfork to turn the soil is remove these boards. These wooden boards were holding down our cardboard pathways that we originally laid down between the sweet potato rows. And so I do want to pull up these few boards I have. They're pretty well covered and hidden, but I don't want to like be, you know, trying to dig and hit them with a pitchfork. So I'm going to remove them, and then that should have any sort of like obstacle out of our way, and then we can get to it. I love to use cardboard in the garden for weed control. I lay it down on all sorts of pathways in and around the farm, and especially here in the garden. So what I love about it, not only for the weed prevention, but by the time you're ready to pull up whatever crop it is, the cardboard has already started to really just disintegrate and fall apart. And so after I dig my sweet potatoes, all of this cardboard that's already breaking down can just be tilled right into the garden. So there's no need to really remove it. Sometimes we do have like big pieces that we burn. But again, all of that is just really good nutrients to put back into your garden. So super big fan of cardboard. Oh guys, I just pulled up my first bundle of sweet potatoes and I am super excited. This bundle here just pulled right up. I just gave a little tug and up they came. So maybe I won't have to use that pitchfork too much, you know? I don't know. There is one little sweet potato. Ooh. Again, I just pulled it right and it broke and I almost fell over. A little comical, but word to the wise and a reminder to me that if it doesn't just pull up naturally and easily, go ahead and get a fork or, you know, your pitchfork or a small hand tool and go ahead and try to dig it up a little more carefully, because it's still good, but it would have been really nice if it had all been in one piece. So now I have to go hunting for the other half. I do want to share that sweet potatoes are not a crop that we are super familiar with here on the farm. We grew them once before in a raised bed, and so I think that was a bit of a different experience than what we have here with them in the garden proper. I did go and get a shovel though, because I am finding that some of these are pretty well compacted in the ground. That first one pulled up really nicely, but that's also in the part of the ground that was kind of in the best shape. This whole quadrant that we have our sweet potatoes in is not the best part of the garden. I would actually say from a soil perspective, this is probably the poorest soil. And so there's just not been a lot of amending that's gone to this area. And so the ground can get really compacted. It didn't have the same nutrient level. And as I get farther kind of down towards the fence there, I've got flies after me, sorry. As I get farther removed from where I'm sitting, the ground is likely to get even harder and more compacted because that area is in even worse shape. So I'll let you know how it goes. I was saying the soil wasn't great, but I am finding some good earthworms. That's a good sign. You know, I think the more we plant here, the more we add manure and other things, the better it will get. So it's not horrible, it's just not phenomenal soil. After digging and digging and digging, I mean, I am every bit of 6+ inches down into the ground. I was trying to be really patient to dig the sweet potato out without breaking it, and you're seeing my true colors. I wasn't patient enough because I thought I had gotten to the bottom. I pulled and I snapped it. But that was a huge sweet potato right there, and it was growing deep, deep, deep down into that hole. Well, I dug another inch and I just broke it off more. I think I'm just gonna have to leave that last little bit there. There's a small little tuber here that I will try to dig out. But man, that was a big, deep sweet potato there. So I'm showing my sweet potato ignorance here. I, one, had no idea how much work it was to dig them up, and two, I just had no idea that we had so many, quality sweet potatoes hiding deep down in the soil here. I thought they were going to be on the surface level, and I thought they'd be really small and like long and skinny potatoes, but they're actually these giant tubers that are really very well established deep down into the soil. So again, it's taking me a lot longer. I'm going at it with my hand tools, not the pitchfork like I originally thought. But I'll probably get a quarter of our sweet potatoes dug today before I have to abort and go to, do something else. So I'll be back. I will definitely be back. And yeah, we'll just see a few more minutes and then I will have to call it quits. The flies are so bad today because it's so warm and it's been cool. Like all of a sudden they've woken up and oh my God, I'm getting bombarded, but back to work. I have to be patient because I have found a really nice sweet potato here. I mean, it's bigger than my hand. It's a really nice one. It seems to be a great shape. I don't see any like Mars on it at this point, but I do have to dig it up carefully and fingers crossed I can be patient. Success. We got it up. It's in great, great shape. This is kind of one of the more traditional looking sweet potatoes. So I'm pretty excited. Just the other week, we had dug up one or two initially to kind of see what they looked like, and we threw them into a soup with our butternut squash. So we'll do sweet potato soups. We'll do probably, our Thanksgiving sweet potatoes. We'll try to take some from the garden and use those. So looking forward to using these really nice looking sweet potatoes. When you're digging sweet potatoes, I'll show you. I've already dug all of these here from this one plant, but I can see the vine here is still attached. And because the sweet potatoes grow on the vine, they're tubers that come off of it. They split off of the main vine here. And so I can see hiding deep in the dirt here is yet another tuber from the same plant. So I'll carefully dig that one out. And I suspect that might be the last one from this particular plant. Here was a little piece of the end of a tuber slash vine that kind of broke off. But so far, a nice collection and one more on the way, it looks like. As I work to get in here a little further, it looks like we might even have two. This is the top tuber that caught my eye. And then sitting just below it here, it looks like we have yet another sweet potato. So now I have two to dig up. So I did just get these last two pulled up. And as you can see, this is kind of the end of the line. We don't have any more hiding deep down. I'm pretty sure of that because I don't see any more of the vine going farther into the dirt. So I'm pretty sure these are the last two from that last final plant. I am finding that some of our sweet potatoes are growing much more vertically in the ground, such as this cluster of 3. And some that we dug earlier were much more of a horizontal lying tuber. So you just never really know how you're going to find them and how they're growing underneath the soil. So as you start to dig, do be mindful, because at least I am finding there's no real reliable way of knowing what's beneath the soil. So do be careful, and best of luck. Thank you so much for joining me today here in our November fall garden. You know, I just can't believe it. I always say that, and it's because it's really true though. I mean, it's been such a great year and it's still going. I mean, I have so many sweet potatoes to still dig up. And then we have our broccoli and our cauliflower and our cabbage. But today I bet you an hour and a half out here in the sweet potatoes, carefully trying to dig them up. I wasn't as patient as I could have or should have been at times. And some of them, you know, have snapped off here like this one, but some of them we were able to dig up, and they're just absolutely beautiful sweet potatoes, you know, unmarred, unbroken. So the next step for these will be to go into the house. I'll lay them out on a table to start drying. And then as they dry, we can knock more dirt off of them and eventually store them in a cool, dark place. The ones though that have kind of split open or perhaps were chopped or pulled and then broke, these we'll want to use up sooner rather than later though. Like those peppers that we picked earlier, they're just not in the best shape and they won't last as long. So, you know, the ones that are perfectly protected, the skin is intact, these will last quite some time into the winter. But again, those others we'll just have to use sooner. And it's not a big deal. We've got Thanksgiving coming. So thanks again for joining. I hope you've enjoyed this start to the sweet potato harvest. I'll definitely be back out here soon, and I'll keep you posted. Bye, guys.